Welcome to the You Can Man podcast, episode 96. I'm Josh.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Dave.
And on this week's episode, are you prepared?
All right, guys, welcome back to the You Can Man podcast, where we believe what one man can do, you can do as well. But you got to have the proper know-how, and you got to have help from your friends on this week's show. Guys, we're finally doing it, doing a show on prepping. We have a special guest in the studio with us, Will the Prepper. Will, say hello.
Hello, how are you?
Will is an expert in matters of prepping. Now, listen. Will's got a ton of knowledge, but what we're going to focus on for this show is, could you survive for the next 2 weeks?
Prepping 101.
Prepping 101.
I'm really excited and really scared about this
Right.
because I want to think that I could handle myself for 2 weeks.
You will
The
die.
reality is probably going to be the opposite.
You're going to
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about things that, stuff that just happened in Texas recently.
Yeah.
A lot of those people were not prepared, and it turned out to be a disaster for a lot of those folks. So we're going to talk about those things. And, man, you got to be prepared. And I'm glad that we're finally getting around to doing this show. If you're a longtime listener, you've heard us say, we're going to do a show on prepping, and we're finally doing it.
This is it.
So, but before we get into all of that, guys, what has been going on this week?
I got two things. First, did you press record? Like, are we recording right now?
I did.
All right, because we did a little
Damn.
dry run just a minute
We
ago.
worked all the way up to this exact point.
like right here,
We-
and then Tim said, we're not recording.
Now, I will say that this is episode 96, and it has never
Yes,
happened.
you will, and you generally say, and we are recording, and you didn't say that tonight.
This is true.
So we should, it's on me and Josh.
Will pointed out that it was on the prepping episode
That we weren't
that we
prepared
failed to hit record.
Come on, y'all.
Right. It is,
Good work,
it is
everybody.
recording.
All right, so number one, crossed off. Number two, do you guys ever deal with this? I was dealing with it today. Computer mouse dies.
The computer mouse with your super cold hand in the winter.
Okay, I don't want to listen. That is a private matter.
You've
Okay?
made it public on the podcast.
Yeah, I got cold hands, and like I don't have cold hands. I have a cold mouse hand. Okay, and it's frigid, and I'm dealing with it. But whatever. You know what? Did I talk about my reptile heater that I bought for it for my hands?
I don't think you did.
Okay, well we'll get to that later. But
Next week.
All right, so my mouse dies, and I'm looking for the little dongle to plug it in, and it's like USB-C, USB-B. Is it a USB-A? Like, what the heck? Why are we doing this to ourselves? It feels like self-torture. And then you got the lightning from the punks
Well,
out there.
You
and
can thank Apple for that.
I know, but I'm just saying, man, like, I counted. I have 9 USB-A, I think.
Yeah, that was like the old school.
I have
first
9 of those.
edition.
I don't have any. I used to have 2 USB-Cs because I have 2 things that you got to plug that into, and couldn't find it anyway. It was driving me nuts today. I was like, well, I got to talk about this on the podcast. I'm just curious.
That is real problems.
It is real problems. Listen, all right, first of all, this is America. This is the stuff we have to deal with day to day, okay? And I'm just getting it off my chest.
I feel you. I just actually purchased the new MacBook, whatever.
Whoa, Rich.
But this is my first. This is my first dabbling with USB-C. So I was like,
It's all right.
I
It's a
can't-
better. It's
it
a
can't-
better plug.
I'm like, it can't talk to my monitor. It
Yeah.
can't talk to my Bluetooth mouse. I got to
Yeah.
get separate hookups.
Well,
yeah.
It's irritating.
Eventually, it'll be nice because all the stuff will be that.
No, it won't. There's gonna be USB-D, like they do it
Yeah,
all the
I don't
freaking
know.
time. We got to change it up just to make everybody
Maybe,
right.
right.
Let's be honest, Will. It's all going to be gone. So
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know what we're worrying about, right?
You
Am I
guys
right?
do know
How
an
many-
EMP will take out every problem you guys have.
Well,
come
how
up
many
with so far.
USB-C cables you got?
Yeah.
0.
So this show, I was thinking about, it's obviously on prepping, and I don't think I talked about. So my family took a trip we went to Walt Disney World not too long ago. And we're driving down 75. Listeners know we're from the Atlanta area, so we went down 75. Have you guys ever stopped at Buc-ee's?
Not here, but in Texas.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so for listeners that don't know, it is a gas station. You can't really call it a gas station. It's like a mix between a Walmart,
Costco,
a Costco,
and a gas station.
and a gas
Is there a
station.
McDonald's like inside attached to the gas station?
No, it's not that trash.
Maybe.
Okay.
It seriously has. Now this is not counting the diesel.
It's called
portion.
Buc-ee's. How can you say it's not that
It's got
trash?
a
Buc-ee's.
big beaver on the sign. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's based. It's based
classy.
out of,
classy.
It's
out of
classy.
Texas. It's from Texas, and they're slowly expanding. I think they might have 2 in Georgia. Maybe that's
I only know of the one.
Okay, maybe it's just the one.
not
I
get
think it's a
crazy.
little south.
What is this place?
Okay, it's massive, and it's incredible.
Is it
and
near
you need to
Macon? Where is it? I can't remember.
It is, it's south of Macon.
Like Waycross or something.
Okay.
Yeah, and it has, I'm not kidding. I mean, it's got to have like 50 gas pumps. That's not even counting the diesel side.
Yep.
But inside, it's just incredible. They have
It's like a Bass Pro too. Like you got to throw a little Bass Pro in there.
yeah, it's
Nice.
like they've got like a full bakery and a whole like
Can you shower there?
barbecue thing. You probably
I'm
can.
always surprised, and I don't know. I feel like the shower. I'm always like, that's a good idea.
And their claim thing is that they have the cleanest bathrooms.
Nice.
And legit, they did. I mean, they were extremely clean.
If that's your claim to fame, you better deliver, right?
And the gas was like Costco prices. I mean, it was a good, I think it was a good 15 cents.
Wow.
Dude,
per
they're buying in
gallon
bulk. With 50 pumps, they're buying in bulk, so they got to be cheaper.
Well, anyways, just wanted to throw that out there. If you're traveling south on 75 from
Hit
Atlanta,
that Buc-ee's.
hit that Buc-ee's up. We hit it on the way down and the way back. All right, Will, you got anything random to add for us?
Speaking of Buc-ee's, they're opening one in Calhoun.
Oh,
Wait, for real? Like a Buc-ee's?
Yeah,
Buc-ee's?
it is-
Buc-ee's?
It is 100. Oh, yeah.
So that's on the way to Chattanooga from Atlanta.
It's not as big as a Walmart, but it's very large. And you can see that they will have no problem with gas pumps. There is an insane amount of gas pumps. And I'm pretty excited about it. It's not too far from my primary location.
Yeah, it's exciting. I don't know what about it is, but maybe it's just
baby.
like it's
Bigger
like,
is better.
It's like my middle-aged dadness or something. But I'm just like, kids, do you see how many gas pumps?
Do you
Look at this.
understand?
We will never have to wait in line again.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's get into the topic of prepping. The first biggest question that we want to answer is why? Why do we need to be prepared?
Yeah, Tim, this is America. We just go to the grocery store and it happens. Like
Right.
things come to us.
Nothing,
right?
nothing weird ever
Magically.
happens in this country.
No.
We never have major pandemics.
Well, let's really quick. What is prepping? Let's
we go.
define it. I mean, for people out there who, I mean, I'm assuming everybody knows, but maybe everybody doesn't know what is prepping. Who am I asking? I guess I'm asking. The
Yeah,
pro.
you can ask me. I would say the first thing about prepping is self-sufficiency. So not having to rely on, the system, more or less. Some people would say the man, some people would say government. I just say the system that we've all grown accustomed to. And when normalcy bias is taken over and then all of a sudden, more or less the plug is pulled, what happens? Do we have the system set in place or do we have a plan set in place that we know is trusty and reliable? Right? I mean, we all have a spare tire. We all have a jack.
right.
How many people actually could probably change the tire themselves? I guarantee the ones that have already gone through it, they can definitely do it.
You want to be self-reliant in the event that something bad happens.
Yeah, everything's on a supply chain. And when those break down, where are you? I mean, we experienced that. I mean, we're going to get to Texas, but we had storms come through last fall around here. Like it was very localized damage, but we were out for over 2 full days. And I was then at the point like sweating and embarrassed. Like, okay, if this goes on a few days longer, like I'm going to have to call my parents or something or like go stay with them or what,
Mom.
So like, yeah, what are we doing? Like, this is
Now-
a great topic.
Yeah,
for it.
Will, you dropped a term when you were answering that of normalcy bias. What is that?
Always turning the faucet and the water coming out clean. Interesting one in Texas. I don't think a lot of people saw this coming. Is that when they lost power, eventually it affected the water system. So they had tons of water issues, and I know that there was. I think at some places it did run out, but also, I mean, if you have a well, right? How are you going to get your water out of the ground? And that's for the very few people who actually do have a well. And then a lot of it was boiling. If you're going to boil the water, how do you boil the water if you rely on electricity?
How are you going to heat it up?
Yeah. So that goes. One of the things I always think about is power. It's a big one. We rely on it.
Oh yeah, huge.
Oh, you realize that? I mean, when the lights go out, you immediately do the thing where you walk through your house, you turn on every light, and you're like, man, and then you go, I need to dry my clothes, and you go to the dry. What?
Right.
Oh, anyway.
So that's normalcy bias then.
That is
Just
normalcy
taking for
bias.
granted all of the luxuries that we enjoy. And so Josh mentioned we were out of power for several days. So another thing that also impacted that greatly was no one had internet. Right. So everyone was using their phones, and then it took out all the cell coverage as well. So we always tend to think like, well, I could always like call somebody.
At least you got my phone.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, it
You
goes
don't.
downhill pretty quick, doesn't it?
We actually had to drive
Real quick.
Yeah, we had to drive out like a mile and a half or so to get a signal. It was weird because
it was so isolated. Like we had really bad trees on power lines right around.
yeah,
here. So,
and everybody was using the cellular network, and it was just clogging it up. So, anyways,
This is something we've touched on already real quick that, being prepared is not always being prepared for the apocalypse. I feel like in the prepping community, a lot of people are looking toward or thinking about, an apocalyptic scenario, like, something horrible
Governments
happened.
are going away.
Governments are falling, nuclear explosions, crazy stuff like that. But listen, the odds are like you're going to be having to deal with, some sort of storm system or look, hey, COVID was a huge thing that everybody was dealing with. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I think of,
Great points.
being prepared for.
Right, like stranded in Atlanta. If
There you
were
go.
stranded in Atlanta and you were working, and all of a sudden, hey, ice storm, right? Whatever happens, something like that. These are kind of things. What if you had to actually get home? Some people call it a bug out bag. I think about a get home bag. And if you think about it, instead of like bugging out, that's kind of a goofy thing.
Yeah.
But if you
I'm
think
not
about
that
it like
weird.
right. But if you think about, well, I do want to get home, no matter what. When
sure.
anything happens, you want to get home. So if you think like I brought a bag, and I view that thing as that's my get home bag, and that's going to help me get home to my family.
So let's start there. I think that's really like small scale. Like that's a few hour, maybe you have to get through the next 12 hours.
Right.
And so you have a get home bag. What's in that? Like what are your goals with that bag?
Well, the first thing always I think would be a flashlight. A good flashlight, something you can charge your car. There's a couple different zones. You could also say your vehicle is an extension of that.
Okay.
So normally that bag would get loaded into your car, your car or your vehicle or whatever. It would be loaded in your vehicle for transportation. So you can also use that as a way to, have stuff in as well. So if you think about it as in like you'll have stuff in your pockets. I think about it like in 3 zones. So your first zone would be what's on you right now. So I keep a flashlight on me, and, we're comparing Garmin, wristwatches earlier, but, I have a Garmin GPS, and, what do I have on me? Zone 2 would be, a bag or my vehicle, for transportation. Zone 3 would be your home, your shelter. So if you think about it like that, you get kind of overlapping, but you'll really, really start seeing how you can really, really like make a plan and work a plan if you think about it in those 3 types of ways.
And that was important that you're talking about your car as an extension of your home and thinking about your car as a potential shelter should it come to that. Is that what you're meaning, sort of? Not
Yeah.
like full bed, like you drive around with a mattress in your car.
You're going to look weird if you always just carry on a big bag.
Right.
So if you say, hey, I always have, let's just say a laptop bag. You're going to have some extra things in that laptop bag. But if you had to, you have a larger bag in your vehicle that you're not going to like look like the creepy guy. But you can have it in there and say, just in case, if I had to hoof it. Or whatever, I got a backup pair of clothes. So all the different
Can
stuff.
you fit a body in that?
So I think it was working. Yeah, the other way, like your bag's an extension of what you're carrying on your person. Your car's an extension of what you can carry in your bag, and so you're kind of like working the other way from small to big. I think.
But first things flashlight, right? That's what we said was kind of like, in your opinion, first thing you should have.
I would say most people, if you're going to think about a bag, I would think about food. Because, if you want to talk about something that's going to make you uncomfortable and make you feel out of place, you're going to be hungry. So if you have a bag, it's always fun to fill it with all these tactical items or all these, these things you're going to find online. Throw a few Cliff Bars in there. It's something we always overlook, but like
it doesn't have to be freeze dried.
It doesn't exactly. A few Cliff Bars and obviously a backup shirt, things like that. But if you start thinking about it as in like, what am I most likely going to grab in my bag? Band-Aids, chargers, things, just the normal stuff that you just like, yeah, I do that, but, maybe it's in my car, maybe it's at my house. What if it was right here on you? It'd be like better.
You were just saying flashlight because you just throw that in any bag that you
No,
have.
but a flashlight is a huge one because
for sure.
If you are in the dark, you will definitely need some kind of headlamp. I carry one that I can clip right onto my hat. So it makes it really easy. And I use my flashlight all the time.
Will's got
Dude, are
Will's
we-
got a small
Mine is not.
flashlight with the clip.
Mine does
Bro,
not require.
Are we
batteries
carrying
all
the
time.
same flashlight?
O-Line?
Dude, O-Light, bro. Man,
The best.
Will.
Dave's
He's my,
halfway
he's
there.
my favorite guest. Look,
best.
Sweet Knife, same flashlight, favorite guest already.
Best friends.
Cheap knife, by the way.
Okay, so let's talk about the things that we're going to keep in our home to get us through 2 weeks. So let's take the scenario of we're taking a bug out of this situation because that's day 2 stuff. Right?
Think about shelter in place. The big thing they were talking about
one or
all
two.
during
Yeah.
COVID and everything.
Shelter in
was
place.
Shelter in place. That was the big word. So if you
Yeah.
had to, you had to shelter in place where you're at.
There's
Right.
curfews, et cetera. Yeah,
So let's
okay.
go down that trail of sheltering in place for the next 2 weeks. What does my family of 5 need to have on hand today to make it through those 2 weeks?
I would say number one, and this is just me personally, but I would say number one, it seems to me that food and fuel are the first things to go. So it talks, we always talk about like, what's the first things to break down? The first things that break down in the just-in-time inventory system is fuel. So, and you can't normally drive to the grocery store without having fuel in your car.
Right.
So I think a big one for me personally is always having some extra fuel around the house. They make some awesome containers now. I know people immediately say, "Oh, it smells. That's dangerous. That's a hazard." Well, they make some really awesome containers that you can put them in that have, no smell, no odor. You can store them in your garage. And people say the common excuse would be that it's going to go bad. Well, you're just going to cycle through it.
Right.
You're going to use
I mean,
it.
they have stuff you can put in gas that's going to extend the life of the gas to a certain degree.
To a certain extent.
Yeah.
But you're just saying, just use it and keep it full.
Oh, you just
Like,
go over there and
periodically.
shake it up every once in a while.
I think
Does not work.
good,
Do not shake it. It does not do anything at all.
I think a good idea, and I kind of do this too, but not really in the vein of prepping. I just do it because I bought a large container of gas for my mower. But I have like a 5-gallon container for my mower. I think it's 5 gallon.
Probably.
And I usually keep that thing full because for my riding lawnmower, right?
Right.
And then that ensures also that I'm cycling through that fairly often, maybe not in the wintertime, but I do use some stabilizer in that. But that would be a good idea. You're already gassing up the mower. Might as well go ahead and, you really only need like a 1-2 gallon container for your mower, but go ahead and upgrade that and get the big boy, and then that way you're cycling through that gas. So that would be something that's not taking up a whole lot more room, but something that would help you out greatly should you need gas for your vehicle.
Yeah, I keep 50 gallons put back.
There you go.
50
So I'm just going to go ahead and set the bar real
He's
high.
ready to go.
Is that in one container? You have a
No.
50
But let me tell you the reason why.
How do you fit that in your bag?
No, you didn't see it? I brought it. No, well, let me tell you the reason why I do it. Because I do it based upon a month thing. So each container, and I picked this up off of something online, and I was like, man, that's a good idea. So each container would have a month on it. So when it comes up onto that month, it's been in the container for 1 year. So I know after 1 year, it will be able to go through a vehicle, no problem. But there are small carburetor motors that typically, like
Right.
lawnmowers and stuff, I probably wouldn't put 1 year old. But cars, if you have 15 gallons in a vehicle and you put 5 gallons of fuel that's starting to turn, it won't really mess it up. A lot of times you're going to use it, by the way. I mean, you use it in lawnmowers, generators, every different thing. But I label everything. So if you label it based upon a month or, just some kind of basic, like this is when the fuel was put in there.
Okay. That's a good idea. So first in, first out. I mean, you just got a system with your gas that you can cycle through it. So that's going to require you to just take some notes and write on those containers and make sure you're cycling through that and mixing it in with your gas that you're already putting in your car. So
Right.
if you're 5 gallons low on your gas in your car, this one's coming up on a year. I need to dump 5 gallons in here
That's
today.
I really like that idea because you're just sending the empty one to the end of the line.
That's right. The same exact
real
way
smart,
that the
real
grocery
simple.
stores used to work back in the day when they used to actually have a supply. But now we live in this just-in-time delivery system.
Yeah, truck comes every day.
Every single day. What
Yeah.
time's the truck coming? There were probably 3 a day.
Talking to a Publix executive right
Former.
Dave
now. I
worked
meant bagging champion. Sorry, not executive.
You upgraded my pay scale like real
Nice.
quick.
Dave worked at Publix. So.
I mean, 20 years ago. Okay.
Right. Okay. So let's move on. So we got fuel, and we've decided that that's very important. That's something that I definitely look. The other guy sitting around this table, besides you, Will, we are we would be screwed. Let's just say that.
Speak for yourself.
I know you'd be screwed.
We would be within days of each other. We'll put it that way.
Probably would. So let's move on to food.
Food.
Yeah.
So with food, I would definitely, if you watch Survivor, if you've ever watched Survivor, all those people are surviving on rice and beans, right? They might definitely lose some weight,
Sure.
but they survive on rice and beans. If you want to talk about something that's easy to buy, you can buy a lot of it in bulk. You know, you can buy it from a lot of places. You can actually get it in big containers. That might make you feel good and say, you know what, this is going to stay, 10, 20 years.
We're talking about rice and beans.
Rice and beans. If you just want to get into
Dried
dried rice and dried beans, they just last a long time. If you wanted to go another route with food, you could actually go on some of these ready-to-go meals, these MRE type of things that are dehydrated meals. They're fine.
We'll give you a 5-gallon bucket for a month.
I'll definitely tell you, no matter what you do, the best thing you can do is try them out. Go through them. I mean, do a weekend, or do a night where you cut the power with the family and say, we're going to break it out. We're going to try them. And you might be like, man, I wasted my money. This is not enjoyable whatsoever. So for me personally, what I like to do is if it's a soup and it's Progresso soup or, Campbell's soup or whatever, Campbell's, yes, I think the stuff I like, I buy 2 or 3 cans extra when I buy. So that way it's like, this is stuff I will use. Imagine you have a pantry. We have always, everybody has a pantry in their home. But imagine the pantry had 2 doors, right? Imagine you were feeding it from one side and pulling it from the other. Think about it like that. So that way you'd be like, you know what? It's going to be like a grocery store shelf, except from the, working from the back forward. So that way you'd say, man, I have plenty of extra of what I use all the time. I have plenty of extra of what my kids use. And that way you're just living with a little bit of supply.
Yeah, Will's he's obviously thought this out, and I like it because I see these, I've seen, people, quote unquote preppers that do this stuff, and I'm like, could you really go out in the woods with your family and your 3-year-old and camp for a month? And, can you cook that food? And can you can you really do, I feel like people buy a bunch of stuff and they don't ever think through, can I actually do this? And, talking about buying food that you're already eating, you're kind of cutting that out of the equation, right? You eat it, you like it, and you know that you can survive on it. So that's a great point.
Yeah, so it's just the same first in, first out kind of system you've got going. And this is going to require you to dedicate some space,
right?
Some extra space. Like you said, everybody's got a pantry, but this system is not going to fit in your normal pantry. So you're going to have an extension of your pantry, and you're going to have to be diligent to be switching things in and out all the time. And it's basically an extension of the grocery store. That's essentially what you're saying. You're just buying 3 times what you would normally have on hand.
And you don't always have to do that. This is starting out. This is if you are just starting to this. You just say, you think I like to use the term 2 is 1, 1 is none. So if you think about it in terms of that, I'm going to buy an extra because guess what? I know I'm going to use it. My wife told me today, I got the biggest kick out of this, that coffee's going up. And we were talking about this big giant ship that's stuck in the Suez Canal, and they were talking about this coffee shortage. And I was like, yes, don't worry, honey. We're going to be fine.
We're good to go.
I put back so much coffee. I could feed a military with coffee. And the one thing I put back a ton of is we're not going to have any coffee shortages. So
nice.
Well, there you go.
So how much food would you say is the minimum that you need? How much time do you need to be able to survive?
I would say 2 weeks is starting.
Yeah.
2 weeks is a bare minimum. If you can work to a month or 2, that's a really good realistic goal. I know a lot of people will throw out, 6 months to a year. Logistically, hopefully you're
in bunker territory at that point. I feel like,
man, I like that timeline. It's palatable, it's doable, and a lot of stuff, especially if you live in a somewhat suburban area,
right?
2 weeks is going to get you through 90% of like events that are going to wash through the community, but working towards a bigger
not
goal.
the big one.
Yeah, working towards a bigger goal is always good, but it's like a little emergency fund financially. You know,
Absolutely.
$1,500 is gonna save you from 90% of the financial hits you're gonna take.
Yeah,
right
but
now.
2 weeks of food, that's going to get you to the FEMA shelter when the bad one happens, right? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, at least you're there.
You need to work towards longer, but yeah.
Right. And so another thing, so Will and I had a short phone conversation earlier in the week before the show, just kind of go over what we're talking about. And I mentioned that we are very big into helping other people. So, a huge reason, obviously, why we do the podcast is to share the knowledge that we have. And then the Facebook group that we have is the same principles behind that. And so I talked to Will, I said, I want to make sure that we hit on how are we going to help our neighbors too? How are we going to be blessings to other people? And so maybe you're thinking through, what do I need for the next 2 weeks? But let me add in another week for my neighbor who's not going to be prepared.
Absolutely.
Right. Yes. So that's another aspect to this whole thing, that when you're thinking through, okay, I'm gonna make sure my family is taken care of for 2 weeks. But instead of having those 2 weeks food supply, I'm actually going to do 3 weeks and have enough for my neighbors as well, because there's going to be people around you that are not going to be prepared. So I wanted to make sure that we put that in there as well. So let's move on to water. I want to know how.
Wait, I
how
thought
you're storing
toilet
that.
paper was going to be.
Right. Yeah, we got to talk
In the
about toilet paper.
pandemic, that's what they told me.
Right.
That was my plan. I was totally investing in all of that, and it just never worked. But the good news is I'm covered for 3 years. So.
That's funny.
Dude.
That was the crazy. I mean, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
They're crazy.
I would like to know about water. Now, this is
water.
very important thing, because this affected a lot of people in Texas. Yeah, they had a lot of water issues because why? All their pipes were bursting.
Right.
Because they're in Texas. They don't have to deal with some sub-freezing temperatures for days on end, except they did. And they weren't prepared, and pipes were bursting. So what is your preparedness for 2 weeks of water?
Yeah, the water's a tricky one, because most people, live in a suburban house, and what do you do? The way I would tell you, just an easy way, is put back extra bottled water, because it's just in an easy format. And there's nothing easier for a kid than grabbing just a bottle of water. And, someone who says, I'm thirsty, bam, here's a bottle of water, right? I mean, I have one sitting right here in front of me. It's just so convenient and perfect. If you go past that, I like these things called water bricks, and they're 2 or 3 gallons, and they're stackable, and you can just slide them underneath your bed. So there's a lot of spare room underneath beds in the back of corners that we don't use.
Sure.
Back of a closet, right? If you start putting water in that, especially the stuff that's actually through the municipal water system, that stuff already is ready to go and prepared to store. So, but if you really want to be prepared, the best way is to buy a gravity stainless water filter, like a Big Berkey, or Berkfield, I think it's called.
Okay.
We can put a link to it.
Sure.
They are
I've
awesome.
seen some of those camping ones you hang it from a tree, or
Yeah, those
feed
are
it
okay.
From the top. I don't know.
These are large. They're about as big as this lamp. I mean, I think the top of them, it's like a reservoir system, and they have 2 or 3 filters. And I think even one of the filters can actually even take out fluoride.
Wow.
So I mean, they are really, really, they're not cheap, but they are an awesome investment, and you will use them. And most everybody I know who's ever bought one says I use it all the time. They actually leave them sitting out on their counter, and they love them. They say it's just the best, purest water.
Okay, so if you're thinking about doing a water filtration system as it is, then maybe you look into this system, and you can also use this when water is shut off to your house. Provided you live next to a river or stream, that is. I guess you'd have to go, fetch the water.
This will filter anything.
So you could go, if you got a little creek running by you, you could go, man, that would be nasty getting out of this creek that we got near us.
We would do it.
But we would do it if we needed to do that. Recently, I posted. I was going to get your opinion on this, just in a pinch, I guess. They were on sale. I got a little Life Straw.
Right.
Now, that's not going to be good for my whole family, and that's only going to be good for like a day or two or something like that. But is that something worth even having in a go bag or something like that?
Yeah, those are fine. Those are fine because they don't take up much room. You can just stow them away. I think you can find them $10, $15, $20.
Right.
And for all the filter stuff, especially if you're talking about an open source stream or something like that, it's not a bad idea to pre-filter. So
Okay.
you can pre-filter with, a couple thicknesses of a t-shirt. So if you have something like that, you're just going to save so much time. You're going to save cleaning the filters. Even a live straw like that, if you could get it and you could just pre-filter a little bit of the silt and the stuff through it. It's
Okay.
going to make
Saves the life of the filter. you're
saves the
saying.
life of everything, especially like, sure, 2 weeks, but what if 2 weeks turns into 4 weeks? What if it turns into longer and I really need to use this, or hey, I don't just want to use this, or I want to use this, not just I need to use this, I want to use this thing all the time.
Right.
I want to keep using it for the next camping trip.
Right. Yeah. And another aspect to all this is, man, this is a good excuse for you to really get into camping. If you
Absolutely,
wanted,
yes.
if you wanted to get into
good.
camping, it's kind of a very legitimate reason for you to make these investments.
It's an
in these things.
offshoot.
Yeah, it really is. Like, you're talking to the wife, she's like, it will be fine.
I'm training.
Yeah, it's another aspect. Hey, I can take the kids camping and we can use all this new gear, and it's going to save our lives
Right.
when we have a
I'm going to teach the
catastrophe.
kids the skills. Yeah.
Yeah, so I like that.
Nice.
If you need mentally to think through spending this money to get these nice special water filters and all this stuff, then, hey, man, go start doing some more camping and use that thing, and then you'll know how to use it too.
Right. More, in my opinion, more preppers should be campers, because campers are people who actually use their gear. And
Right.
and that's the problem with it. We have a lot of just armchair preppers. And that's the problem is they're not actually going out and testing it. You can have the coolest big jacked up Jeep in the world, but if you don't actually go put it out and try out what it can do and know how to drive it, what's the point? You think about people who have the nicest big jacked up trucks and they hook up to a trailer and they don't know how to back up a trailer. What's the point?
We've talked about backing up trailers on this show before.
Boat ramp champ.
Oh, man, for sure. Okay, I think we've covered a lot of the basics, so
I feel like we just scratched the surface, man.
I mean, yes, we did, but
Food, water,
this will
fuel.
get you through 2
There you
weeks.
go.
So, guys, hopefully, maybe we'll do another show where we'll dive deep into a lot of this other stuff.
Oh, Will's coming back.
Yeah,
I mean,
'cause
maybe next week.
Yeah,
We'll
it's
see.
something that really interests me, and I'm not prepared at all. But this has got me thinking. Like, I've got room down in the basement that I need to have a second pantry. I need to have. I've even got shelves already set up. Why in the world do I not have canned goods there? I've
Need
got
that
the
full
space.
freezer with
I
deer
know.
meat. Come on now.
Right. Well, if power goes out, then you're screwed with that. But anyways, I hope this has given you guys a lot of information to kind of process through. So at the very minimum, look, guys, get you some extra fuel. Keep that on hand in your garage. Double the size of your pantry, meaning
Yes.
take another spot
Find some room.
of your house in your garage or whatever. And those canned goods that you're already kind of going through as it is, go ahead and double it up. And then you'll have that. And then Will talked about having some water on hand. At the very least, have a case of bottled water. Come on, guys. Always have a case of bottled water. But stage 2 would be getting those water bricks that Will's talking about. Put those under your bed, and cycle through that just as you would maybe the gas too. So I really hope that this has got you guys thinking about all this. Look, this just happened in Texas, and a lot of people were not prepared at all. This could happen wherever you're at in the part of the country. So take heed, take these steps, and be prepared. We're going to take a short break, and then Will has some, I think, trivia preparedness questions
Oh, yes.
for us. So stick around for that. We'll be back after the break. Do you have an idea for a website that you've just been sitting on forever and ever and just can't get it off the ground? Well, maybe website hosting and domain name registration and all these things kind of confuse you. They did me at one point in time, but I've been using GetSimple.net for years. Hosting your website can be really complex, such a hassle, but not when you go to GetSimple.net. Whether you need hosting for something specific like WordPress or you need to register a domain name, Simple Source Solutions can help you dump the stress and get back to doing what makes your business great. Simple Source is your trusted hosting provider for all your hosting needs. We've got a promo code for you guys. So to get started, visit getsimple.net and use promo code YCM for 10% off your order. That's promo code YCM at getsimple.net. All right, guys, welcome back. Will has some trivia for us. Will the Prepper, our guest on the show this week, and he's got some trivia questions for us. Now, Will, I didn't tell you had to do this, but we usually do multiple choice. But if yours isn't multiple choice, that's totally fine. The way that we normally do trivia is we will let you read the question. Now, guys, got to make sure that he reads the full question to give our listeners some time to think about the question. And then if you know the answer,
Name is your buzzer, Dave.
then your name is your buzzer. So, Will, take it away. Question 1, go.
All right, question 1. This one I think is easy, but I can throw multiple choice if y'all need it, but I don't think y'all will need it.
Send it.
All right. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Which month is National Preparedness Month?
Tim, August. Ah, no.
Dave, January.
Nope.
Boom.
Josh, March.
Nope, wrong.
What month is it? It's March. Dang it. That was my next.
Okay, what is it?
It is September.
September. Okay, now that's like hurricane time, no? August, I guess.
Does
more
it
so.
kick off? I don't know.
I'm curious if it had to do with 9/11.
Yeah, so you said September, and that was immediately what I went to.
Okay, that makes sense.
Who decided that it's National
When did that?
Prep Yourself Day?
FEMA, maybe? I don't know.
Bush.
Yeah.
Really?
No, I don't know.
Oh man, you said it like for real. It was Bush.
Okay, now I'll be thinking, yeah.
I
'cause,
picked March because of tornadoes.
You hear that every year, like it's something about it's National Preparedness Month. I just hadn't
I think
thought
it's weather preparedness month.
I hadn't thought about that it was September. Okay, question.
I was thinking May because, like, always think of like May Day. I don't know.
There you go.
Oh, okay, I got you.
All right, so 0-0-0. We don't deduct points. Okay.
Okay, question 2.
All right, question 2. What is the highest peak east of the Rocky Mountains?
Oh, throwing a random one in there. Highest peak east of the Rocky Mountains?
Can I give you a state?
Oh, man. Tim, Brasstown Bald.
That's
Nope.
Georgia.
Dog.
Hey,
Come
well,
on.
it's the highest point, Georgia. I mean, come on now.
Is it the one in Maine at the end of the Appalachian Trail?
It is not.
Is it in New York?
It is not in New York.
Dang,
it's
we
very
really-
close to us.
We are terrible.
Shut
No, it's
up.
not. You're wrong.
He's pitching a shot.
For real?
It's close. Yeah, it's one state away.
Tennessee?
North Carolina.
Oh man.
It is
North
in
Carolina.
Oh,
What's theirs?
I'll give you a hint.
Kennesaw Mountain.
I'll give you a hint. It's where they filmed a lot of Last of the Mohicans.
that does
Yeah.
nothing for me.
Is it in Boone, North Carolina?
Nope. Are you ready?
All right, I'm gonna
Yeah,
stop
where-
guessing.
yeah.
It's Mount Mitchell.
Yeah.
Mount
Heard of Mount
Mitchell.
Mitchell.
Coulda had all
Okay.
That's the tallest point east of the. You said the Rockies or
Highest
Mississippi?
summit
That's
east
a
of the
good-
Rocky
That's
Mountains.
a
Wow.
good trivia question.
I thought you guys would get that.
No,
No.
obviously not.
So just a little below that in New England is Mount Washington.
Okay.
So that one is number 2. It's the highest peak in New England. But Mount Mitchell in North Carolina is the highest.
Is that your bug out location, Mount Mitchell?
Oh,
Is that what
not
you-
oh, that would be that
That's
in my
the dream,
dreams,
okay?
I'm telling
That's
you.
the high ground.
If I win the lottery,
Nice.
I did get to hike Mount Washington last year.
Okay.
Nice.
Sweet.
That was bucket list of
Nice.
pain. Of
Nice.
pain.
yeah, I
Bucket
was
list
gonna
of
say, were
pain.
you prepared? Doesn't sound like it.
That was rough.
All right, question 3.
All right, question 3. We're gonna go a little tactical here, so I hope you guys can handle that. I did see a Magpul sticker on one of the.
Don't let it fool you.
Oh, here we go. All right, the caliber 45 ACP. What does ACP stand for?
Dave, automatic Colt pistol.
Yes.
Boom. What's up?
Yes.
Whoa.
I was looking at Dave because I knew he was going to get it.
I had no clue.
I'm impressed.
I wouldn't know. I'm not into guns officially.
Right.
They were all lost in a tragic boating accident.
Yeah, they fell in the water. I don't have.
I watched a documentary on Canada getting their gun rights taken away, and they interviewed an old man. Like, I think he was sitting in a barber chair. He had to have been, right? Like man on the street kind of thing. And he was like, my guns fell off the back of the truck. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I'm going to give you guys just real quick before we go on a little behind the scenes in the UK Man studio. Just to paint the picture, Will and I just had like the whitest dude high five ever. Like Will goes to fist bump. I didn't see it. I look. He changed to a high five. I went to high five. He changed to fist bump, and I palmed his fist.
I thought we were playing
I
rock,
met him
paper,
20
scissors.
minutes ago. Yeah, we essentially were.
We did.
Anyway.
Oh man. Okay, question 4.
All right, question 4. So I know you guys are Bronco guys.
Oh yes.
Okay, so got to do a Jeep one because I'm a Jeep guy. So
We're going to have to ask you to leave.
go now. Okay, so Jeep CJ, very common. I would say the enemy of the Bronco. What does CJ stand for? Jeep CJ. What does the
on,
CJ
Tim.
stand for?
Oh man. Commando Jeep?
Nope.
Colt Johnson.
No.
Comanche?
I don't know CJ. I don't know. I think I've heard it before, but I won't be able to
I
get
have
it.
no idea.
When you hear it, you'll just be like, wow, that totally makes sense. Civilian Jeep.
Okay. I believe you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, so the predecessor to the CJ was the MJ, the military Jeep.
Okay.
So when it came into the civilian market, then you had civilian.
They make it simple. Keep
Yeah.
it simple.
Okay. All right.
This is good. You're stumping us every time.
What's the last question you got for
Except
us?
for Dave.
The last question, if you guys know movies, you guys should be able to get this one. So this is a movie one, but it does pertain to preparedness and maybe the greatest movie of all time, in my personal opinion. Red Dawn, 1984. You had two main characters, brothers, Jed and Matt Eckhart, two main characters. They were played by which two famous actors?
Oh, I've got his face.
Dave, I don't know.
Was Patrick Swayze in that?
Yes.
Okay.
I've got his face in my mind's eye, but I can't. I'm so bad with remembering actors' names.
It wasn't Kurt Russell and Patrick
Very
Swayze.
close. You're very close.
I don't know. What is it?
It's Patrick Swayze, and his brother was Charlie Sheen.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Man, Charlie Sheen had a good run.
Very early on in his career.
Wow. Okay. Good deal. Well, those are some really good trivia questions because
That was a rough
Dave
one.
got one.
I got one.
I got
that
a
was
half of one.
that was
Yeah,
rough.
We got 1.5 out of 6.
Okay.
Look at us.
Yeah. So, Will, I think we're going to have you back on, man, to go chase some of these rabbit trails down prepping because it's just an interesting topic in general that I think you can just go way down rabbit trails on that are really interesting to hear about. So I would love to hear what's your next level, besides getting my family through the next 2 weeks.
This was ground floor.
So if we do have Will back on, which I'm thinking we will,
Will's coming back.
If he likes us enough, he'll come back on. So Facebook group, guys, if you've got questions that we should be asking Will and that you want us to talk about on a future prepping show, then please leave us a message on the Facebook group and let us know. We'd be happy to try to tackle that. Until next time, we'll catch you guys
Next time.
next time. All right. Peace.
See you on the next adventure.